and the Eyewitness News team.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, our metropolitan area and the whole world mourns the death of 43-year-old movie actress Natalie Wood. Miss Wood won the hearts and minds of fans of the silver screen everywhere.
If you were to Google Natalie Wood today, you're more likely to find articles titled "The Death of Natalie Wood" or 40 Years Later, the mystery over Natalie Wood's death endures, all over articles pertaining to her movie career. Even the tragic deaths of her contemporaries, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, and James Dean, didn't seem to hinder their cultural and artistic impact. In fact, some could argue it intensified their importance. So how did Natalie Wood, 1966 world fan favorite Golden Globe winner and 3-time Oscar nominee's legacy get pared down to the actress that drowned off the coast of Catalina? Because unlike the previously mentioned heavyweights of pop culture, Natalie's career became defined by her death, and not by the work that she left us with, which is a disservice to her and to filmgoers. So who is Natalie Wood, and why is she a renegade? Let's find out. After garnering attention for her acting chops as an adolescent in such films as Tomorrow is Forever and The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, Natalie was dubbed Most Talented Young Actress of 1946 by Box Office Magazine. The following year, she would star in the now classic Christmas film Miracle on 34th Street as Susan Walker, a young girl who learns to believe in Santa Claus.
You were right, Mommy. Mommy told me if things don't turn out just the way you want them to the first time, you still got to believe. And I kept believing, and you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus. Where you go?
After the major success of the film, Natalie went on to star as the daughter of several highly regarded actors, including James Stewart and Bette Davis. Yet even with a prolific output of 27 appearances in film and television, Natalie remained the doting daughter. She was a child actor, not a child star the likes of Shirley Temple or Mickey Rooney, and by the early 1950s, she was ready for a change.
Yeah, there's almost no way you can
I mean, it
age
was hard enough for
gracefully.
me to grow up. I mean, when I was 15 and was trying to play a part of a 15-year-old, they all said, oh no, but you know, you still got your pigtails and everything. And so I had to do several screen tests for a picture I did with James Dean. And I was exactly the right age, you know.
By 1953, Natalie's career was beginning to stall, and her agent began frequently lending her to television. One production in particular, General Electric Theater's I'm a Fool, paired her with none other than James Dean. It was Dean's unconventional way of working and frequent improvisation that both rattled and inspired Natalie. Dean had just wrapped production on Elia Kazan's East of Eden, and when Natalie discovered that his next project would be the Nick Ray-directed Rebel Without a Cause, she requested to meet with Ray. Their relationship quickly became sexual. Nicholas Ray was 42 years old, and Natalie was 16. Regardless of her multiple screen tests and desire to prove that she could portray a bad girl, she did not win the role until a car accident with Dennis Hopper and another Van Nuys High School classmate resulted in an unconscious and mildly concussed Natalie. When Natalie came to, she asked Dennis Hopper to phone Nick Ray instead of her parents, and on the car ride home, she was told that she had the part. Warner Brothers publicity had a different story in mind, one that has Natalie telling Ray over the phone, "Nick, they called me a damn juvenile delinquent. Now do I get the part?" The role of Judy in Rebel Without a Cause allowed Natalie to play a character that was not only her age, but had emotional depth. Thriving off of the artistic impulses of James Dean, Nick Gray, Sal Mineo, and the entire cast, Natalie's work shows a sense of spontaneity that had not been present before. She was no longer the doting daughter. She was honest, vulnerable, and for the first time, sexual. The role would lead to Natalie's first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress and a contract with Warner Brothers. The late 1950s saw Natalie starring in several girlfriend roles. the most notable being her 2 starring vehicles with Tab Hunter. She also became Mrs. Robert Wagner for the first time, and it seemed by 1960 that Natalie Wood would be known more as a celebrity and less as an actress. That all changed in 1961 with the 1-2 punch of 2 extremely important films. In West Side Story, Natalie plays the role of Maria, a modern-day Juliet of Puerto Rican descent. Aside from the glaringly obvious miscasting, Natalie brings a sensitivity and innocence to the role that boils into frustrated disappointment by the film's closing monologue.
You all killed him, and my brother, and Rick. Not with bullets and guns, with hate. Well, I can kill too, because now I have hate. How many can I kill, Chino? How many? And still have 1 bullet left for me.
The film was a smash and won 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Natalie was also nominated that year, but for her turn as Wilma Dean Lewis, or Deanie, in Splendor in the Grass. The film is directed by Elia Kazan, a director whose work Natalie admired since she first saw A Streetcar Named Desire. Kazan was a founding member of the acclaimed Actors Studio, where he, along with Lee Strasberg, cultivated a new way of acting. Known as the method, this way of acting required the actors to pull from personal experience by utilizing sense memory. To do so would enhance their performances with truth. With an Oscar-winning screenplay by William Inge, Deanie gave Natalie one of the most complex roles of her career. Struggling to keep the interest of her sexually frustrated boyfriend Bud, played by Warren Beatty, and the respectability of her parents, Deanie's feelings of repression boil over into attempted suicide at the loss of her and Bud's relationship. Deanie is then sent to recover at a psychiatric institution and returns home to find Bud now married and poverty-stricken.
Well, she was wonderful to me when things started to go wrong.
You're happy, Bud.
I guess so. I don't ask myself that question very often, though.
The role resonated with Natalie, who at 23 years old had spent the majority of her life catering to the needs of others. From providing financial stability for her family at the age of 8 years old to the manufactured dates with Hollywood heartthrobs, the expectation was that Natalie would be the perfect daughter or girlfriend, and would thus inspire girls across the world to do the same. When watching Natalie's performance as Deanie in Splendor in the Grass, one gets the sense that she is trying to prove something, to prove to her boyfriend Bud that she can be both pure and desirable, to prove to her parents that she can marry a boy of wealth and notability, and overall to prove to herself, Deanie, that she can be more than her mother and her upbringing. Natalie's own relationship with her mother wasn't far from the page. Taking notes from the method actors who inspired her, Natalie infused her performance with a deep emotional truth, earning her a 2nd Academy Award nomination, this time for lead actress. Natalie's 3rd and final Academy Award nomination would come from the Robert Mulligan-directed Love with the Proper Stranger, starring opposite Steve McQueen. Natalie plays Angie Rossi, a first-generation Italian-American who works as a Macy's sales clerk. Upon finding out she's pregnant after a one-night stand, Angie finds the father, Rocky, and insists he help her find a doctor for an abortion. The two travel New York City together, collecting debts and borrowing money to procure Angie the abortion through illegal means. For 1963, the film dealt with several taboo subjects, such as abortion, conventional marriage roles, and even casual sex. In the role of Angie, Natalie was able to be sexual without being sexualized. She was open-minded, sexually liberated, and pro-choice. She did not need a man to make decisions for her, and women connected to that. At 25 years old, Natalie Wood became the youngest actor to ever receive 3 Academy Award nominations, a feat that wouldn't be surpassed until 2013. In 1966, after 4 financial failures at the box office, Natalie was struggling both professionally and personally. An avid participant in psychoanalysis and advocate for mental health, she doubled her therapy sessions and started to make her personal happiness a priority. She bought out her Warner Brothers contract for $175,000 and fired her agents, managers, publicists, accountant, and attorneys. She was now in complete control of her future. When she found out that she was voted the worst actress of last year in 1966 by the Harvard Lampoon, Natalie opted to attend the ceremony, which held a parade and award ceremony in her honor. Not wanting to jeopardize the progress she had made in analysis, Natalie turned down the opportunity to star in Bonnie and Clyde, opposite her ex-boyfriend Warren Beatty, a role many believe could have brought her the elusive Oscar. Longing to remarry and start a family after divorcing Robert Wagner, Natalie would remain off theater screens for 3 years until she read the screenplay of first-time director Paul Mazursky's Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. After stating that she believed it was the best script she had read in 2 years, Natalie agreed to star in the film. Taking a $700,000 cut from her usual salary, Natalie negotiated 15 points in the picture. In the film, Natalie plays Carol Sanders, a wife who spends a weekend of emotional honesty at a holistic retreat with her husband Bob. Returning to Los Angeles, they vow to embrace complete openness in their relationship, including sexual openness. The film is a comedic yet honest look at the sexual liberation of the 1960s and doesn't judge the characters for their willingness to engage in sex for merely physical pleasure. The film went on to make $31.9 million on a $2 million budget. With Natalie's stake of 15 points, she received an astonishing $3 million in ticket sales. After the release of the film, Natalie went into semi-retirement, appearing in 4 more films before her death and putting out some of her best work on television with performances in The Cracker Factory and her Golden Globe-winning performance in the TV series From Here to Eternity. Tackling topics of alcoholism and sexually transmitted diseases, Natalie didn't shy away from topics that she believed to be important. She navigated the transition from child actor to adult screen siren, overcame the sexualization of Hollywood's studio system, and made bold career choices at the height of her fame that resulted in both wins and losses. She ultimately won financial and creative freedom without the destructive behavior of many of her contemporaries, and she blazed a trail for women to be more than ingenues in cinema.
A lady named Miss Serena ought to be calm and serene. Are you? Well, I try to be. That's good, because this is a stick-up.
And that's why Natalie Wood is a cinema renegade.